Ladies and gentlemen, the event is about to commence.
Part of the primary discussion today, as I mentioned earlier, is the question of communities and ecosystems. How do we work together to ensure that the work that we are doing today around artificial intelligence, around smart cities, around solutions when it comes to climate change, around solutions when it comes to our health and well-being, how do we ensure that those systems function not only to help the solutions, but also to ensure that they are enhanced on an ongoing and sustainable basis? Sustainability, of course, is not just key in terms of our climate and the environments in which we live, but also in terms of our health and well-being. So, we need to figure out how to catalyze artificial intelligence communities and solutions. I love to think that I would be able to have this conversation all by myself, but in reality, I cannot. So I have a handful of really special people who will be joining me on stage to talk about just that. So please give a very warm welcome to Kashifu Inua Abdullahi, Constanza Gomez Mont, Eldred Jordan, Essa Muhammad Ali, and Marluz Pomp. A warm welcome to them, please. Thank you once again to you all for joining us here today. What's really encouraging and exciting about AI is that it gets better with every younger generation. And I think when I look at this stage and I look at how maybe our children, or I think about how our children are engaging with technology, it's infinitely different to how I did when I was younger.
Exactly.
Kashifu, you also are looking at a sort of governmental policy perspective when it comes to AI. Not that that's all you do, but that's a significant part of what you do. How are you approaching that question of ensuring that the legal and ethical frameworks exist in order to support as the development of AI becomes more complicated and complex, and as the way in which we interact with AI similarly becomes more integrated and complex?
Okay, thank you. As AI becomes so embedded in our life activities, and to the extent that we hardly notice it, so it is very important to get people, the community, to be part of building this AI, because if you allow just few people, the people in the techie, to just build it, they will build it with the techie mindset. While if you look at it, we use this system in so many things. In criminal justice, we use it in recruitment, we use it in profiling, and so many things. So we need to look at them. These software engineers, they are beyond software engineers, but they are social engineers. Therefore, the government needs to make sure there is ethic, there is a code and standard for anybody designing any system that will make decisions on behalf of the government, or that will make decisions that the community must follow. Because the way it is today, we obey most of the rules of this technology than the rules of our country. Before you use any system, you have to agree to follow the rules. Before you use access to some places that they are controlled by a technology, you have to agree with the technology. And we have seen it in a situation whereby this technology has become biased because of the kind of data used. Because AI learns from data and experiences to build its model and patterns which it uses to make decisions. So if the data is not available, or if certain people or demography are digitally invisible, they will be discriminated in the decision AI is going to make. So the technology now, we need to stop looking at it from either a consumer's perspective, where can I buy one, or how much does it cost, or as a capitalist, how can I exploit it, or how can I build products around it? We need to start looking at it from the citizens' eyes. How does it change the way we live together, and how can it be used for public good. And this can only be achieved through policies, regulations, and laws. And this, what we are saying, it has to be co-created also. We are not encouraging government to use armchair theory to come up with laws or regulations, but we are saying the government should co-create it with the ecosystem, because this technology is new and is evolving. You cannot regulate what you don't know, because regulation is synonymous to putting a traffic light in a traffic place, which you need to understand the traffic patterns before you put the traffic light.
Kashifa, thank you. Kashifa, what is the broader conversation that is being had around the monitoring and ensuring that these things happen? So we've spoken a little bit about, again, what needs to be done. But at the end of the day, there is also a sense that sometimes when people do whatever they choose, there's nobody who's going to come back and say, well, actually, from an ethics perspective and from a definitive policy perspective, you should have done ABC, and therefore you need to remedy that. Not necessarily a stick approach and always sort of punishing people for not having done the right thing, but maybe figuring out how we encourage that to happen. So what is the conversation that is being had around that?
I think the major conversation is around not allowing some group to hold and exercise unaccountable power over others. Because if you look at it today, most of these big techs, they are more powerful than sovereign nations. They have more data, they have more information than any sovereign nation. Like in December, they were having a meeting with President Obama in December 2013, putting pressure on the government to slow down on surveillance. Then President Obama prophesied that he has a thinking, one day the guns will turn around. And today that is what is happening. What the government is saying, we want you to be accountable. We want you to enhance competition. Because if you look at most of the laws and regulation around the world, it's either talking about anti-competition, antitrust law, or increase accountability, or safeguarding privacy, because they take a lot of information about us on how to improve the products and services. But beyond that, there is this what is called surveillance capitalism, using behavioral data to manipulate us. Because anybody that has more information about you can manipulate you without knowing that he's controlling you. And that is what is called instrumentarian power. So the government is saying, be accountable, be open, be transparent of what you do. Also, don't dominate the market, because one thing that plays in the technology sector is domination. Any big tech, if you are trying to do something in their niche, they try to acquire you or to smart you. So, and to avoid that, we need to have a level playing field where we can allow local startups to also grow. And thirdly, we are talking about transforming the governance itself, because this technology is beyond just the way we see it as a tool, because you use it for so many things. So the government also, we should not allow the government also to have total control of the technology, because that can lead to an authoritarian regime, or a dictator, if has access to that kind of power, can do whatever they want. And lastly, we need to use it to protect our democracy as well. Because when we started, we used to say these tools, they are improving democracy and increase freedom. But today, we realize that they are actually eroding democracy and diminishing freedom. So how can we hold them accountable? How can we use the community to create the laws? Yes, we know they have a self-regulation, but that is not enough. because that self-regulation mostly is built in another jurisdiction. And the way the AI is evolving, we are today at a narrow intelligence stage. By the time it reaches the general or super intelligence, we cannot control it anymore because we don't know what it's going to be. We always talk about the promising potentials while we mostly keep silent on the deadly perils of this technology.
Kashifu, can you answer really, really quickly, because I'd like to do the rapid fire.
Yeah, we cannot cut them off from accessing digital because they are digitally native. So like in Nigeria, we started by coming up with code of practice to make the digital space safer for everyone, including children. What we are trying to achieve with that is to make sure what is illegal offline is illegal online, mean trying to move our all legal laws to the digital space. Against, when it started before, we used to say cyberspace is ungoverned space. But now we are saying, yes, everybody agrees that there is a need for regulation, but what is the right regulation? But creating the right regulation is not something we can do today. We need to evolve it.
Okay, Kashifu, I'm going to start with you first. Thank you very much. We're running out of time. Quick question. We're going to have, literally, I want 2 words from each of you in terms of how we are catalyzing these communities, what we need to do. 2 words, not 7, 2. Okay, here you go. Kashifu, you're first.
Okay, bridging the digital divide and building capacity.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, this really esteemed panel of fascinating and really smart people who can do things that I wish I could be able to do. So I'd like to thank them individually. Kashifu Inua Abdullahi is the Director General of the National Information Technology Development Agency of Nigeria. You guys were amazing. If you can make your way off the stage, thank you.